Hello and welcome to WMLT News. I'm Bailey Gillespie. A massive 9.0 magnitude earthquake hit off the northeastern coast of Japan and caused massive tsunami waves to move inland. The waves have leveled cities and towns along the coast and have left more than 10,000 people dead and more unaccounted for. This terrible disaster is the fourth largest earthquake ever recorded since 1900 and caused Japan to be pushed a massive 13 feet closer to the United States. This massive disaster also caused the Earth's axis to shift by 6.5 inches and shortened the day by 1.6 microseconds. The earthquake caused Japan to sink 2 feet into the ocean, devastating the coastal inhabitants and making this natural disaster on a truly massive scale. Following this tragic quake, Japan was hit with a tsunami which destroyed thousands of houses and buildings. This caused widespread devastation, including damage to a nuclear power plant. Radiation has been expelled from the plant and onto the surrounding areas. Radiation levels are being monitored and the health and safety of the people is being closely watched. Along with dealing with the tragedy caused by the earthquake and the tsunami, the people of Japan are now having to worry about the effects of the damaged nuclear plant. Warrants of extradition of the governor of Ohio were served on March 15th to Mercer County. Since his capture back in late February, Sammy Littleton has been charged with the murder of a 26-year-old Ohio woman, Tiffany Brown. Investigators also believe Littleton is responsible for the kidnapping and murder of an elderly couple, Richard and Gladys Russell. Richard's body was found in Tennessee on February 23rd. The body of Gladys was found later in Georgia on March 9th. However, Littleton has not been yet charged with those deaths. Littleton is currently being held in the Southern Regional Jail. Judge William Sadler has the extradition hearing on April 21st. At that time, police in Ohio are expected to provide evidence to prove he should face murder charges in that state. In Tazewell County, West Virginia, a woman has been charged with homicide after the death of her newborn son. The 911 call was received by authorities on January 7th of 2010, with reports that the child was not breathing. Efforts to revive the child was proved unsuccessful, and later that evening, 9-year-old Damian Casey was reported dead at the Clinic Valley Medical Center. The child's mother, 26-year-old Brandy Nicole Casey, was later arrested for the possession of oxycodone, hydrocodone, and alprazolam. The possession and use of these substances by the mother, along with child endangerment and neglect, have been determined as the reason for the death of the child. However, further investigations continue concerning the circumstances leading to the death of the child. And here with this week's sports news is Shane Burris.
Thanks, Bailey. Over Concord's spring break, the baseball and softball teams were hard at work traveling to Georgia and Florida to play in invitational tournaments. The baseball team struggled in the Savannah Invitational, winning only one of their 4 games. However, on their home return, they were able to bounce back by defeating Fairmont State 20-8 and 10-4 and bring their overall record to 7-8 on the year. The softball team traveled all the way to Florida for the Cocoa Beach Expo and played 8 games against teams from all over the East Coast. The girls pulled out 4 wins but didn't lose a single game by more than 2 runs. The girls' overall record is actually below 500 on the year at 8-10, but most of their losses have been heartbreakers. And while we're on the subject of heartbreakers, the women's basketball season has come to an end. After 2 impressive wins in the WEVIAC tournament, the girls fell in the semifinals to Glenville State. The Lady Lions fell behind early as the fast-paced offense of Glenville State employed their usual up-tempo, full-court style, and Concord never fully recovered. While Jolisa Brown did finish the game with 27 points and her conference-leading 18th double-double on the year, the Lady Lions just couldn't match Glenville State and lost the game 110-87. And now, with a special look at the NCAA Conference champions and the top seeds in the tournament, here's Brett Dodrell.
Thanks, Shane. March Madness is upon us. The NCAA tournament has begun, and the number 1 seeds have been announced, as well as the tournament brackets. However, to take a step back and look at the teams that won their conferences, it may give us a good idea as to who may win the biggest tournament in all of college sports. The number 1 seed overall, the Ohio State Buckeyes, cruised through the Big Ten tournament, being slowed up only 1 game by Northwestern, who took them to overtime. However, the Buckeyes were able to overcome the Wildcats and then beat Penn State in the championship game. The number 2 overall seed, Kansas, had similar problems with Oklahoma State in the first round of the Big 12 tournament, but like Ohio State, they overcame those early struggles and cruised to yet another Big 12 championship, successfully defending their title. The Big East tournament proved to be the most surprising conference tournament, with the number 4 overall seed Pittsburgh losing in their first game to the University of Connecticut, who would then eventually lay claim to the Big East tournament championship by defeating the Louisville Cardinals in the finals. Last but not least, we have to mention the reigning national champions, the Duke Blue Devils. They took the easiest road through their conference tournament, hardly trailing for any time the entire tournament, and defeating their arch rival, North Carolina, in the finals. If the NCAA tournament this year proves to be nearly as exciting as the conference tournaments, we should be in for quite a ride. For sports, I'm Brett Dodrell. Back to you, Bailey.
Stay tuned. We'll return with more WMLT news in just a moment. Hospitals in Michigan will no longer be hiring employees that are smokers. Crittenton Hospital said that it will now be screening potential employers for nicotine. CEO of the hospital, Lynn Orfkin, said that this rule is a mission to support a healthier community and will also save the hospital money in healthcare costs. Actions have already took place. There have been 2 instances where employment officers were revoked after nicotine tests came back positive. They are also looking to make more changes. The hospital is also working on a rule regarding overweight hirees. Here now with this week's Concord Minute is Travis Sims.
Concord University radio station, WCUR, is offering up a new variety of shows this semester, and you can listen in Monday through Friday. On Mondays at 1 p.m., tune in to Monday Mayhem with Marcus Lyons and myself. On Tuesday, check out Indie Watch at 10 a.m., the Thank God It's Tuesday show at 2 p.m., and the Bearded Sill Mix at 4 p.m. On Wednesday at 1 p.m., you can listen in to the Emmy G and Wes Max show and Balls and Beats at 4 p.m. On Thursdays at 4 p.m., you have Lady Mad Hatter and the Bandit. And on Fridays, tune into The Resistance at 2 p.m., then DJ Brandon and CJ at 4 p.m. In other news, there's a bill in the Texas legislature which would allow college students the right to conceal carry weapons on campus. Advocates of this bill say this would prevent another Virginia Tech-type incident by actually allowing students a way to protect themselves. Concord University Police Chief Mark Stella has expressed opposition to the idea of concealed carry on our campus. Other states that allow concealed carry on campus are Utah and Colorado. That's all for Concord Minute. Back to you, Bailey.
Sunday in Buchanan County, a gunman fatally shot 2 sheriff deputies and wounded 2 others before being killed in a shootout. The deputies were shot around 3 p.m. after responding to a reported robbery at a service center in the Deskins area near Devil's Branch Road. They died at the scene. 2 other officers arrived in response and were also shot. 1 officer was airlifted and the other transported by ambulance to a nearby hospital. Virginia State Police Sergeant said that 1 deputy had life-threatening injuries and the other is in serious condition. Authorities said that the deputies were shot from long range before the suspect fled into the wooded area. Police found the suspect shooter about 2 hours later, and the shootout occurred. The suspect was shot and killed. The shooter was armed with a high-powered rifle. Residents were evacuated from the area, and the events unfolded in nearby Route 83 was temporarily shut down. A press conference is scheduled for Monday, March 21st. The names of the victims have not yet been released. There was an investigation underway Tuesday morning in Miami after a white powdery substance was found in the Kennedy Space Center. According to NASA's Inspector General Office, the substance has tested positive for cocaine. The substance is now at a crime lab for further testing. Renee Juhans said that she could not confirm whether the drug was found in the Space Center. Juhan says that the investigation is ongoing and that NASA has a zero-tolerance drug policy. Due to the incidental, employees may be randomly drug tested. It is not known whether any of the employees have been asked to submit a drug testing in this investigation. No further comments have been made. Here's Marilee McAuliffe with this week's Ticket or Leave It.
Thanks, Bailey. The King's Speech is a new movie that has won many awards, including 4 Academy Awards. This includes Academy Award for Best Picture, Best Director Tom Hooper, Best Actor Colin Firth, and Best Original Screenplay David Sedler. The British historical drama stars Colin Firth, Geoffrey Rush, and Helena Bonham Carter. King George VI, played by Colin Firth, tries to overcome a lifelong stutter that was caused by being abused by a nanny as a child. His wife Elizabeth, played by Helena Bonham Carter, finds Lionel to help her husband. Lionel Logue, played by Geoffrey Rush, is the king's speech therapist that has many unconventional ways of fixing his stutter. While working together, they become close friends. After King Edward VIII abdicates the throne, King George relies on Lionel to help him make a radio broadcast at the beginning of World War II. This is a very good historical drama and depiction of King George VI. I highly recommend that you go see this movie. If you're looking for something a bit darker, try Red Riding Hood. This Red Riding Hood is a new take on a darker version of the original childhood story. This version is set in a small medieval village of Daggerhorn that has been haunted by a werewolf for decades. The wolf has started killing the residents in the village again after many years of taking just animal sacrifices. Amanda Seyfried plays Valerie and is in a love triangle with her longtime love, the woodcutter Peter, played by Shiloh Fernandez, and is engaged to be married to a wealthy blacksmith's son, Henry, played by Max Irons, in order to pay back her father's debt to Henry's father. In order to marry her love, Valerie plans to run away with Peter until she finds that her sister Lucy has been killed by the werewolf. To find out who Valerie ends up with and who the wolf is, head to the movies and find out. That's it for this week's Ticket or Leave It. Back to you at the desk.
On March 10th, police raided Charlie Sheen's mansion. Sheen supposedly had several firearms registered in his name, which violated the terms of a restraining order against him by his ex-wife, Brooke Mueller. There were internet rumors going around that night that police had seized a massive quantity of drugs, but those claims were later provided to be false. The only thing police confiscated was an antique gun and bullets. Later that night, police arrested 26-year-old Fan, who attempted to meet Sheen by jumping his backyard fence. That's all for this week's WMLT News from Concord University. Tune in again in 2 weeks. Have a good day.